Good morning, students. I welcome you all to the 11th Standard Commerce class. And today we are going to see Chapter 6, Joint Stock Company. Learning Objectives. To know the meaning of joint stock company, to know the characteristics of a company, to know the advantages and disadvantages of joint stock company. Meaning, a joint stock company is a different type of business organization which came into existence to overcome the limitations of sole trader and partnership concern. So we have already seen what are the limitations of sole trader and partnership concern. For example, limitations in its capital, managerial ability, and also risk of unlimited liability. And with the advancement of science and technology and with the impact of industrial revolution, it has made it necessary for a large amount of capital investment and also need for a highly managerial skills for running a large scale industry. And thus the joint stock company form of organization came into existence. The term company refers to a body corporate. Body corporate, that is a corporate entity, that is a company which has legal existence. In other words, it is a body incorporated in accordance with the provisions of a specified act. So a company which is started, put together into one unit according to the provisions of a specified act, that is the Companies Act 2013. It is viewed to be a person created by law, a juridical person. Its legal entity is distinct from its members and independent of even its promoters who give birth to it. So, its legal entity, it is a company or an organization which has got its legal rights and duties. That is, it can legally enter into any contract with any other company. So it is a distinct form of organization. It is different from its members and also it is independent of its promoters also. Definition: a company is an association of many persons who contribute money or money's worth to a common stock and employ it in some trade or business and who share the profit and loss as the case may be arising therefrom. So this was the definition given by Lord Linley. So company, it is a association of many persons. It is formed by group of persons. So they contribute money or money worth, that may be a property, assets, whatever it is, which is equivalent to money, and they form a common stock and employ it in some trade or business. So they employ the money, they do trade or business, and they share the profit and loss, whatever may be, which is the output of the business. So this was the definition given by Lord Linley. Next, we'll see the definition of company according to the Companies Act 2013, Section 2. A company is an artificial person created by law having a separate entity with a perpetual succession and a common seal. So a company is a person. It is an artificial person which is created by law and it has got a separate entity. So the company has got legal rights and obligations with a perpetual succession. So how it is formed, that is how the company is created by a law. Same way it can be ended up only through legal process. So a company, it is having a separate entity with perpetual succession and also a common seal. Highlights of the Companies Act 2013. The joint stock companies in India are governed by the Companies Act 2013. Earlier it was the Companies Act 1956. The Act, that is the Companies Act 2013, it came into force on 12th September 2013 with few changes. In the previous act, the Companies Act 1956, the maximum number of members was 50 and now it is 200. And also a new company, a new class of company also came into existence, that is one person company, that is a private limited company was also included in this act. The Act of 2013 has 470 sections as against 658 sections in the Companies Act 1956. So in the old, that is the Companies Act 1956, there were 658 sections, but in the Act 2013 it has 470 sections, and the entire act has been divided into 29 chapters. So it has 29 chapters with 470 sections. Many new chapters have been introduced, such as Registered Values, Chapter 17, Government Companies, Chapter 23, Companies to Furnish Information or Statistics, Chapter 25, Nidhis, Chapter 26, National Company Law Tribunal and Appellate Tribunal, Chapter 27, and Special Courts, Chapter 28. And this act is looking forward in its approach, which empowers the central government to make rules, etc., through delegated legislations. That is, this is contained in Section 469 and others. The Companies Act 2013 is a result of detailed consultative process adopted by the government. The next topic we are going to see is characteristics of joint stock company. Separate legal entity, limited liability, perpetual succession, separate property, transferability of shares, common seal, capacity to sue and being sued, separate management, one share, one vote. Separate legal entity. Under incorporation, a company becomes a separate legal entity as compared to its members. The company is distinct and different from its members. It has its own seal and its own name. Its assets and liabilities are separate and distinct from those of its members. So under incorporation, that is under legal process, a company is formed, and a company has separate legal entity compared to its members. So it has got its legal rights and obligation. It can enter into any contract or agreement. The company is different from its members. So the company has its own seal, name, and property and liabilities. It has got its own, and it is separate from its members. So the company can own property, it can borrow money, employ people, have a bank account, it can enter into a contract and agreement. So company is considered as an artificial person which is created by law. Limited liability. The liability of the members of the company is limited to contribution to the assets of the company up to the face value of shares held by him. A member is liable to pay only the uncalled money due on shares held by him. This you can understand with an example. For example, a person is a shareholder in a company. He buys 500 shares in that company, and each share costs rupees 10, and he has paid only rupees 7 for each share. That is, for all the 500 shares he has paid rupees 7 each, and remaining he has to pay rupees 3 for each share. So if there is any loss, or if the company has to pay the debts, so the person is liable to pay only rupees 3 of each share. That is, he has to pay rupees 1500. That is his unpaid amount per share is rupees 3, and totally how many shares he has bought? 500. So 3 into 500, he has to pay only rupees 1500. So limited liability, that is a member is liable to pay only the unpaid money due on the shares held by him. So this is called as limited liability. Perpetual succession. A company does not cease to exist unless it is specifically owned up or the task for which it was formed has been completed. Membership of a company may keep on changing from time to time, but that does not affect life of the company. A company is created by law and it can be wound up only through legal process. So what is this perpetual succession? See, a company cannot come to an end unless and until the task for which it was started has been completed. The work which has been taken up by the company has been completed. Then only it may come to an end. So membership of a company may keep on changing, but it does not affect the company. It does not bring an end to the company. As the company is created by law, in the same way, the winding up of the company, that is, bringing an end to the company, is also through legal process only. Separate property. A company is a distinct legal entity. A member cannot claim to be owner of the company's property during the existence of the company. So the company has its own property and a member cannot claim to be the owner of the company's property. He cannot claim the properties of the company. Transferability of shares. Shares in a company are freely transferable. When a member transfers his shares to another person, the transferee steps into the shoes of the transferor and acquires all the rights of the transferor in respect of those shares. There are restrictions in the transferability of shares in case of private companies. So, in a company, shares can be transferred freely. So, when a member transfers his shares to another person, the rights in respect of those shares is also transferred from the member to that person. So, in a private company, there are certain restrictions, limitations in the transfer of shares. Common seal. The common seal is the official signature of the company. The name of the company must be engraved on the common seal. Any document not bearing the seal of the company may not be accepted as authentic and may not have any legal force. So we have already seen that a company is an artificial person which is created by law, and its activities are carried on by board of directors. So to carry on its activities, for example, to enter into any contract or agreement, the company uses its seal. So a common seal, it is the official signature of the company. So you might have seen the seal which contains the name of the company. So any document which does not bear the seal of the company will not be accepted. For any contract, if the company has to enter into any contract or agreement, the seal is necessary. It can enter into the agreement under the seal of the company. Capacity to sue and being sued. A company can sue or be sued in its own name as distinct from its members. So a company can sue. Sue is, that is, it can file a case over another company. So a company can sue or be sued under its own name and not under its members' name. Separate management. A company is administered and managed by its managerial personnel, that is, the board of directors. The shareholders are simply the holders of the shares in the company and need not necessarily the managers of the company. So, as I have told you already, a company is an artificial person. It doesn't have any physical presence. So, a company, it is administered by, it is managed by the board of directors. All the activities of the company is carried out by the board of directors. The shareholders, they are just the holders of the shares and they need not participate in the management of the company. So all the activities are carried by the board of directors. One share, one vote. The principle of voting in a company is one share, one vote. That is, if a person has 10 shares, he has 10 votes in the company. So, in a company, one share, one vote. So, he may be a shareholder of 10 or 20 shares. So, he has got 10 votes or 20 votes in the company according to his owning of shares. But in a cooperative society, if you take, the principle followed here is the principle of voting in a cooperative society is one member, one vote. So a person has 10 shares in a cooperative society, but he has only one vote. The next topic we are going to see is advantages of company. Large capital, limited liability, transferability of shares, perpetual succession, promotion of saving and investment habit, risk bearing capacity, economies of large scale operation, economic development. We'll see one by one. The first advantage, large capital. A company can secure large capital compared to a sole trader or partnership. Large amount of capital is necessary for conducting business on a large scale. For example, Reliance has invested more than rupees 25,000 crore in its telecommunication venture. Raising such huge amount of funds would be utter impossible in a sole tradership or partnership. So for starting a company, investment is needed on a large scale. Large capital is needed to start a big business, a large business. So for example, if you take Reliance, it has invested more than rupees 25,000 crore in the telecommunication business. So such huge amount of funds cannot be invested in a sole tradership or partnership. So it is possible only in a company, joint stock company. The second advantage is limited liability. So the liability of a shareholder is limited. In the case of a company limited by guarantee, his liability is restricted to the amount that he has guaranteed to contribute in the event of winding up of the company. So, limited liability we have already seen with an example. So, the shareholder, that is a member, is liable to pay only the unpaid amount of his shares. So, if there is any loss or the company has to pay any debt, it cannot take the personal properties of the shareholders. Next, transferability of shares. Transaction of shares between two individuals is easy. So there is liquidity of investment. Any shareholder can easily convert his shares into money by selling his shares. So already we have seen that transferability of shares in a company is easy. That is, the members can easily convert the shares into money by selling their shares. Next, perpetual succession. A company has perpetual or continuous existence. Members may go or new members may come in, but the company continues to exist. This ensures continuity in operations and the company can undertake long-term investment. So, perpetual succession, that is, a company is created by law. Same way, for winding up of the company, it also requires legal process. So member may come and go, they keep on changing, but that doesn't bring an end to the company. So the company continues its operations. Promotion of saving and investment habit. Joint stock company system encourages people to save. Even small amount can be used for the purchase of shares. A person can buy even one share of a company. So joint stock company, it encourages the people to save. That is, it creates the habit of saving. So the people can, that is, they can buy shares by using small amount, and they can even buy one share of a company. Next, risk bearing capacity. The loss of the company is distributed over a large number of shareholders. So each shareholder bears a very little amount of loss. Hence, the company form of organization has risk bearing capacity. So in a company, if you see, large number of shareholders are present. So if there is any loss in the company, it is shared among the shareholders, and the amount of loss shared by the shareholders are also very little. So risk bearing capacity you can see in the company form of organization. Economies of large-scale operation. A joint stock company can undertake business on large scale. As a result, it can derive all the advantages of large-scale production. For example, Hero Motorcorp Limited 2015, the world's largest seller of two-wheelers, manufactures motorbikes on a large scale and is able to enjoy cost efficiency. So a joint stock company, the investment is large. As a result, the production is also done on a large scale. So here an example, Hero Motorcorp Limited 2015. It is the world's largest seller of two-wheelers. It manufactures motorbikes. It manufactures on a large scale, and also it enjoys cost efficiency. That is, the production cost is also less. Is economic development. Joint stock company system has been responsible for the rapid growth of industries and trade in many countries. Since joint stock companies have large financial resources, they are able to undertake large-scale production, satisfy the needs of more number of consumers, create large-scale employment opportunities, promote balanced regional development, and contribute substantially to the government by way of taxes. So this joint stock company also helps in the development of a country's economy. That is, since the financial resources is invested more in a joint stock company, the production is also done on a large scale. So what happens is the production is done on a large scale. As a result, the consumers are also satisfied. And next one, because of it, people get employed. Many people get employment because of this joint stock company. Regional development takes place. And another important thing is they also contribute to the government in the form of paying tax. The next topic we are going to see is disadvantages of a joint stock company. Costly and difficult to form. Scope for dishonest and unscrupulous management. Management oligarchy. Speculation. Lack of interest. Lack of good labor relations. High taxation. The first disadvantage is costly and difficult to form. Number of legal formalities must be observed in the formation of the company. To observe these legal formalities, promoters have to spend much time and money. So, as I told you earlier, for the formation of a company, it is done through legal process, and the promoters, they have to spend lot of time and money to follow these legal formalities in the formation of the company. So they find it difficult, and also they find it costly to form a company. Next, scope for dishonest and unscrupulous management. The directors manage the company with the help of paid officers. If the directors are dishonest, they may make personal gain at the expense of the company. They may misuse their power and position. So, the company is administered by the board of directors. So, and these directors, to administer the company, to carry on the activities of the company, they employ officers, paid officers. Sometimes the directors may be dishonest and they misuse their power and position to make personal gain at the expense of the company. So this affects the company. So there is a scope for dishonest management. Management oligarchy. A few rich persons may secure control over the affairs of the company. Thus, the management of a joint stock company might become oligarchic in character. So, some rich person, what they do? They take control over the management affairs of the company. So, this leads to oligarchic nature of the company. What is meant by oligarchy? It is nothing but a small group of people having control over a company. Next, speculation. A few individuals may corner the shares to gain control over the company. So, a few individuals, what they do is they buy more shares of the company. For what purpose? That is to control over the company, to get control over the company, and for that purpose they buy more shares of the company. Lack of interest. The officers of the company do not have incentive to hard work. They are not usually inclined to take risks. They lack initiative. So the officers of the company, they are not paid incentives for their hard work. As a result, they also do not take any risk, or they do not have interest in the activities of the company. Next, lack of good labor relations. In sole trading business, personal supervision is possible, but in company form of organization, there is lack of personal contact between owners and workers. As a result, there is scope for more industrial disputes in a company form of organization. So, in a sole trading business, the sole trader looks to the business personally. He personally supervises his business, looks into each and every activity of his business. But in a company form of organization, it is not possible. Here there is no personal contact between the owner and the workers. So what happens because of this? There are industrial disputes in the company form of organization. Next, the last one, high taxation. Joint stock companies have to pay tax at higher rates compared to other forms of organization. So joint stock company, they have to pay high tax when compared to other organizations. With this, we come to an end of part 1 of the lesson, joint stock company. So in this lesson, we have learned what is meant by joint stock company, its definitions, and next we have learned its characteristics, advantages and disadvantages. Thank you, students.